Welcome to the ArmaniTalks Show, episode 25. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. Within this show, I'm covering a range of communication skills that will help the average engineer and entrepreneur become great. Because it's not just about having great ideas. Eventually, you need to learn how to express those ideas in a coherent way where other people want to listen. And in order to do something like that, you need certain skill sets. These skill sets include public speaking, social skills, creativity, concentration, and much more. And these skill sets are actually covered in the ArmaniTalks Show. I drop a new episode every single month. So if you want to stay updated and you're watching from YouTube, hit that like for me, hit subscribe, hit that bell notification, and never miss another video again. These episodes are also recorded in podcast format, so you may be listening to this, not watching it, but listening. And one way to help me out is to leave me a review. I'm going to give you a reminder at the end of the episode. No need to do it right now. If you're listening from Twitter, you want to definitely hit like, you want to hit retweet so different people can discover this episode. There are a lot of engineers and entrepreneurs that have brilliant ideas, but they're too introverted or too awkward, and they're holding themselves back. I think being a little awkward is a good thing, especially because a lot of individuals try to be too cool. I don't like people that are trying to be too cool, because whenever you're trying to be too cool, you make other people feel somewhat uncomfortable. The people that have great personal brands are the ones who embrace being awkward. There is something about you that other people may criticize. For me, it's often my voice. Some people love my voice because it's deep. Other people, they don't like it that much. They're like, I don't really like your accent, whatever your accent is even from. And in that polarity, I understand that there is an opportunity for me to be unique. I am willingly awkward. I could try to be cool. I could try to take all these accent reduction classes and say, hey, this is the Armani rebranded version. But that's not my intention. Speaking of accent reduction, what do I think about that? I think certain people do need it. During my time in Toastmasters, there were a lot of speakers that would come in. They were foreign, and I noticed that they would struggle with self-esteem issues, especially regarding their accent. It was typically the Indian people and the Chinese people. Now, with the Indian people, I noticed that they were a little too hard on themselves because they perceived their accent to be worse than it really was. Despite them having an accent, it was rather easy to understand them. While the Asian people, like the Oriental Asian people, they were a tad bit different, where they also had an accent, but they were harder to understand. Something about, let's say, the Chinese language, it's such a complicated language that when you're speaking Chinese, it's complex. But when you're trying to switch to English, which is a rather simple language, it becomes very hard to make that transition. And that's one of the reasons where if the Chinese Toastmaster members wanted to take accent reduction, I wouldn't be completely against that. But whenever the Indian ones would want to take accent reduction classes, something about that didn't feel right. I noticed that they would speak in a way that seemed forced, and it wasn't authentic to who they were. That's why with accent reduction, you really need to understand your strengths and weaknesses. If multiple people are saying, right after you're done speaking, then either you need to enunciate or you need to look into accent reduction classes. More often than not, people do understand you. And your accent, it can actually help you out in the public speaking world. There have been plenty of times where I'm sitting down, I'm watching a bunch of different speakers come on stage, leave, come on stage, and leave. And I'm not wowed. I'm not wowed because all these guys look the same, speak the same, and act the same. Every now and then, though, there's this one person with an accent, and as soon as they get on stage, I don't know why, I begin paying attention. And that's when I realize this is what you call a pattern interrupt. Pattern interrupts are a great way for you to be known. In the, let's say, the workspace, there are so many different individuals that it's pretty easy to get lost in the mix. A lot of great workers, the biggest problem that they have is that they don't know how to be known. I've worked with a couple of guys like this where they were great coders, great at IT, great at all the technical skills. But by the time that it was, let's say a Zoom call was happening, it was their time to speak. They wouldn't. They would typically have their Zoom cameras off. I would see their cover photo, but I wouldn't see them. And they still wouldn't talk that much. They were muted as well. And that's when I realized that making yourself known in the corporate space is a skill set. There's the mass approach, then there's the individual approach. A lot of people that listen to the ArmaniTalks Show, they typically are a little awkward or a little introverted. So for people like this, the individual approach works like a charm. This is when you individually go up to people, right? You could make a call with them, you could ping them, you could email them, and you are individually going up to different individuals, making yourself known. And the more that you do that, the more that these different individuals will start talking with each other, and they'll bring up your name organically. They'll say, "Hey, do you know Armani?" And the other person will say, "Yeah, I know Armani. I just had a call with him recently." And the other person says, "Well, he just pinged me recently." And they're talking about you, and you never had to get them in a big group, in a town hall or anything. You just individually worked your way up. This is an amazing way for you to get yourself known. Because what happens with a lot of these individuals in corporate spaces is that they get a job, and that's it. Their manager never hears from them again. And this is not good, especially if you want to get a promotion. When you want to get a promotion, don't assume that people are going to read your mind. There are guys that do that a lot. They psychologically want a promotion, and they think, well, my manager, they should just know. And this person begins to do a lot of silly things. They begin to work harder on all of the wrong things. They start to focus on the minors, and by the time that it's time for that performance review, they go up to their manager and they ask for that raise, and the manager is blindsided. The manager says, "Look, dude, you're working on a bunch of things that does not move the needle forward. Why would I possibly give you a raise, let alone a promotion?" They won't. If you want a promotion, what you need to do is follow my advice and do more of these one-on-one meetings, maybe just once a month, and make yourself known. And if you really want that promotion, you don't want to read people's minds. You want to get those words out there. Go up to your manager and bluntly ask, "Hey, I want a promotion. What would you say that I need to do in order to make something like that happen?" You're just tossing that idea out there. And the more that you toss that idea out there, the more that the universe favors you. If you're just keeping all of your ideas inside all the time, the universe does not favor you. And not only does it not favor you, you grow resentful of other people because you keep assuming that they're going to understand the ideas in here. You're assuming that they can read your mind. They can't. So what you want to do is you want to go up to your manager and you just bluntly ask them, "What's it going to take for me to get a promotion?" And you will be shocked how transparent he is. He'll say, "Look, we don't have the money to give anyone promotions." Or he'll say, "If you can work on X, Y, and Z, you will get that promotion." He literally just gave you 3 action items. For next year, it doesn't matter if you have other work. Those 3 action items are priorities. You want to keep focusing on those 3 action items, and you want to do monthly check-ins to see, "Hey, dear manager, am I getting closer to these 3 action items? Is it what you're expecting?" They'll give you a response, and you guys just keep touching base. The more that you keep touching base, the more that you are getting closer and closer to this promotion. This is how job titles change. There are guys that work in companies for 20, 30 years, and they're the same exact job title the entire time. Now, I get it. A lot of folks, they don't really care about their career like that. The only reason they're working is for a paycheck. If that's you, ignore everything I'm about to say. But if you are someone that wants to rise up the ranks, then you need to get in the habit of throwing your ideas out there. Whatever you're thinking, you gotta say. And one strategy that I have is that you want to raise your hand first and ask questions later. There have been a couple of times when, before the whole work from home thing, where I had to go physically into these meeting locations, and we would do these meetings in one of these conference halls. And I noticed how tough it was to say anything. Because normally there's 1 to 4 people that actually have something to say. They're higher up. And a bunch of other people within the rooms, they're just nodding their heads. Like, They're trying to say something with but they're not using any words. And if you're trying to say something, in your mind, you keep thinking, okay, this is the perfect time to say something. As you're about to say it, someone else just brings up a new topic. And this just keeps on happening for 45 minutes. And eventually, you leave the meeting without having said anything. I get it. You don't want to be one of those guys saying something even if you have nothing to say. But if you have something to say and you don't know the wording of it, you don't exactly know how you're going to say it, you just have a vague idea that you want to say something, raise your hand. And if you can't even raise your hand because other people aren't raising their hands, it's not that formal, then you want to at least just speak. You'll be shocked by how many times when you just begin, how a lot of these words just begin presenting themselves. These ArmaniTalks shows, I'm not preparing what I'm going to say. I literally just hit record and I see where these episodes are going to take me. And I'm surprised. I'm thinking, I had no clue that I was going to discuss a topic like that. That's your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind knows how to do so many things. You just need to learn how to tap into it. The way that you tap into it is you eventually learn to relax. You eventually learn to let go of control. You can only let go of control once you have practiced enough. You can't let go of control on something that you just learned. So if I just learned driving, I can't engage my subconscious mind because my conscious mind has not even figured it out. Once my conscious mind figures it out, that is when I can let go, relax, and I just drive. Driving is something you want to focus on anytime you're trying to build a skill. People think way too small when it comes to skill sets. When I think of skill sets, I think I want it to be an extension of me. I want it to be another layer to my skin. Driving, for example, I don't think about driving at all. I am completely mindless when I am driving. And due to being mindless, I consider that a skill. If I have to think too much, if my head is hurting, then it's not a skill yet. It's not automatic. I need it to be automatic. People stop with very practical tasks. They're like, okay, well, typing, I can make it automatic. Driving, I can make it automatic. Brushing my teeth, I can make it automatic. But I can't make something like writing automatic. Something like speaking. That's creative. And that means I have to think. No, you don't. You speak all the time. The reason that you get nervous speaking is because this is an act that should be subconscious. It's because your conscious mind has figured it out. You've been speaking for years. So you don't need to keep thinking about speaking. What you need to do is you need to be mindless and just let the words come out. This could be destructive advice, so I don't want to push this idea too much because some people, they're a little too mindless and they become borderline rude. You want to create some rules for yourself before you're about to enter this mindless state. As of late, I've been doing my best not to curse. My best. If you watch the ArmaniTalks Show from the beginning all the way to now, you'll notice a radical difference in my language. It was just a conscious effort that I made. That's why when I start one of these episodes, one of the rules that I say is, Armani, do your best not to curse. One rule. Second rule, make sure it doesn't exceed over an hour and let's say a minute. Second rule, with these two rules, I can now begin speaking. And once I begin speaking, I can be in this mindless state and see where the talk takes me. So you want to create certain rules for yourself whenever you're going to enter mindless talking. Let's say you're going to a dinner party and you're doing mindless talking. The one rule is don't hurt someone's feelings. Let's say the food sucks. You don't want to go up to them and say, hey, this food sucks. Because you will hurt their feelings and you will not get invited to another dinner party in the future. Whenever people cook for you, you have to understand that they are giving all of themselves to you. I know that sounds weird, but trust me on this one. They're using their mind, their hands, and they're dedicating a lot of time. So that is why, even if I don't like the food, I'm never going to tell that to someone that just spent hours cooking for me. I don't care if the food sucks. I'm going to find a way to eat it, or when they're looking away, I'm going to find a way to throw it in the trash. But I will never tell someone that I did not enjoy their cooking, especially when they gave me their time. I recall when I was a kid, there was this one auntie that made all of us food. She threw this dinner party, and I thought the food was pretty good. Everyone was giving her compliments. She was starting to feel herself. And then there was this one uncle that came up to her, and he said, everything was amazing. Besides the fish. I did not like the fish. And he said this in front of so many other people that they all heard. Now this lady who spent hours cooking, all she could think about was how the fish didn't come out well. And she was sensitive, and rightfully so, where she begins crying. And this uncle says, oh no, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, I guess the fish was okay. And he's trying to scrap together some sort of excuse to make her stop crying. And that's when I learned that people are emotional whenever they're cooking for you because they're worried. They're worried if you're going to like it. And they're worried about what happened to that lady happening to them. What if they throw a dinner party for a large-scaled group and just one person makes a spectacle and says, I didn't like this and here's why. That's what other people are going to remember. And even if they like the fish, they're going to start thinking, well, did I really like it? Maybe that uncle did have a point. And it just ruins the vibe. A big part of social skills is learning when to keep your trap shut. That's something that these desi uncles and aunties can't do. They are a little too mindless whenever they're talking. So you want to avoid being rude to people. And a lot of the times you will see that being rude and I would say being polite, the main difference between that is not always saying the truth. Because there have been times I went to these dinner parties and the food sucked. The rice was way too stale and it was literally getting stuck in my teeth because it was so hard. And when the lady asked, how's the rice? I looked at her point blank in the face and I lied. I said, it was amazing. Why? Because being rude and being polite, I mean, the main difference between that a lot of the times is a strategic lie. So I'm not completely against lying. I think lying is bad if you are doing it with a poor intention and you're actually going out of your way to hurt someone. But if you're sparing someone's feelings, every now and then, it is fine. You want to take this advice with a grain of salt because there are other nuances in life where you have to tell the truth, even if you don't want to. But us as people, we have to learn to be polite strategically because it only opens up opportunities for us in the long run. Being polite, being likable, these are skill sets. And I love it when these guys that are not liked by everyone, they start to brand themselves as, oh, I'm going to tell it like it is kind of guy. And they brand themselves as that so much that they make that seem like the ideal. That is not the ideal. The ideal, especially if you're trying to reach a broader audience, is you need to be able to get your message, but you need to be able to share it in a way where it's not just getting you canceled, you're not getting under everyone's skin. Because with communication skills, it's not what you say, it's how you say it that matters more. There are people that don't even speak English that often listen to the Armani Talks YouTube channel, the podcast, read the blogs, and they don't really care about the words. Trust me, they don't. They care about how it is being delivered. That's why the monotone voice bothers people so much. That's why people hate to get yelled at. When they get yelled at, they are just focused on how you're saying something. Maybe you yelling is completely justified, but they don't care about that. All they care about is how you are saying it. You need to remember this anytime you're communicating with someone. That's why the harsher the message, the more that you want to assume that the person you are speaking to is the most sensitive person on the planet. There are occasions when, let's say, a creative person, if you are working with a creative person, understand that this person is sensitive. If they're giving you, let's say, a book cover design, and you're just going in on them from the very get-go, you will hurt their feelings, and they are chaotic in nature. They may just act out. I have a worker that's like that. For a lot of my book cover designs, he does a great job, but every now and then he does a bad job. So I have to tell him, hey, I don't like this cover. That's how I used to deliver it before. And he would get upset with me. He would say, man, whatever. And he would not respond back for days. Pretty unprofessional, but that's just how he operated. That's how a lot of creative people operate. Eventually, I started to go in with that baseline assumption that he was the most sensitive person on the planet. And that's when I didn't even have to think about the words. The words just presented itself. The tonality was gentle, simply due to the presupposition. So whenever you're going up to people, whether it's your son who doesn't respond well to tough love, whether it's your wife who does not respond well to tough love, or it's your employee, you want to go in with that baseline assumption, this is the most sensitive person on the planet, and then you want to deliver your message accordingly, and your tonality will be super gentle. Because if you're criticizing people, it's hurting their feelings, they're not even listening to you, then what's the point? You want them to ultimately listen to you, and that's how you build influence. Influence is when you can control someone's nervous system. I believe that is the best definition of influence out there, because there are a lot of fluffy definitions. Influence means stature. Influence means psychology. I mean, they just get one word and pair influence with another word, and they expect you to understand it. No. I consider influence, persuasion, as the ability to control someone's nervous system. There was this one day someone was about to interview me, and before interviews, roughly 10-15 minutes before, I'm talking to the guy that's going to interview me, and we're just talking, we're just catching up, we're just getting to know each other. And one of these interviewers one day was like, yo, Armani, a couple of years back, you wrote this article about Conor McGregor and what made him great. And that article resonated with me, and I followed the advice within that article. I wrote so many articles. I've written over 1,000 articles. So I had to ask him, refresh my memory. What did I exactly say that touched you? And he said, you talked about how Conor McGregor would visualize. And you talked about this strategy where you were doing the same thing, where you would walk in your company with loud music and you would just visualize. For whatever reason, that resonated with me, and I began to do the same thing. I would walk around, listen to loud, lit music, and I would visualize. And as of late, dude, it's been helping me out tremendously. I feel better. I'm getting my sun. I'm burning calories. Thank you for that. This article influenced him because this article controlled his nervous system. If he just read the article and he said, hey, that made an impact on me, but he didn't visualize, he didn't walk, he didn't listen to the lit music, then I don't think that really influenced him. That's just wordplay that he's delivering me. But when he actually applied it, that is when I effectively influenced him. That is your goal as a leader. You want to know so much, then you want to scope through the relevant info from the irrelevant info, And you want to present the relevant info in a way where it influences other people's nervous systems. And you will often do this by accident. You don't always have to think, okay, how am I going to deliver this speech in a way where it's going to influence them today? You can have exposure therapy, as I like to say, where you're repeating the same words a lot. One way to do this, for example, I actually joke about this with one of my friends. He was living in a very cold area for a while. And I recall he moved from Florida to this cold area. I like this friend. He's one of my close friends, and I wanted him to move back to Florida. So I would call him. I would always ask, yo, what are you doing there, dude? What are you doing in Buffalo, New York? You're not even in the real New York. You're in Buffalo, New York. Come on, man. Come back to Florida. The first time I said it, it did not make a dent on him because he just moved to this area. He just got a job. It didn't make any sense. I didn't stop though. Anytime we were talking, I would always present the idea. I wouldn't always talk about the idea throughout the entire call because then he would tune me out. But as we're vibing and everything, I would just bring up, come on, man. What are you doing in Buffalo? Come back to Florida. The beaches miss you. I kept bringing it up. And eventually, the seed was growing more and more and turning into a tree. And eventually, one day, he tells me, yo, Armani, I'm coming back to Florida. When you influence someone, you don't always have to do it immediately. You want to get in the habit of planting your ideas out there. And this is why powerful, influential people, they're always having these one-on-ones with different people. Because I just noticed with one-on-ones, it's more intimate. When you're talking to individuals in a group setting, it may work. There are certain talks where you want to get people in a group setting to give them that rah-rah speech. I've done that before. Whenever I was trying to start a club in undergrad, I could talk to individuals one-on-one. I did that. But there were certain guys, they did not have the concentration for a one-on-one meeting. They needed to be in a group. So once I put them in a group, I gave them this talk and they're like, yeah, let's start this organization. They were ready for that. You don't always have to do that though. Sometimes the one-on-one meetings is all that you need. I heard the founder of Airbnb say that one-on-one meetings are a waste of time. I got what he was saying. He got a lot of backlash for that, but I got what he was saying because he has a huge company and him doing one-on-ones with everyone, it's just not something that's viable. But if you have a small company or if you work within a company, then having one-on-ones is a smart thing to do. If you are working in a company and you want to rise up, you want to view that company from the lens of an intrapreneur. An entrepreneur creates their own business. An intrapreneur works within a business that has already been created. So let's say you work in Lowe's, for example. You are an employee in Lowe's. You don't just want to treat Lowe's as this company that you work for. You want to treat it like your company, that you have ownership of it. View yourself as a founder of the company or yourself as a major stakeholder. And that's when you immediately start to think differently. You start to look for new opportunities. You start to look at redundant processes. You ask questions like, why are we doing it like that? You start to network with the right people. That's how intrapreneurs operate. They treat the company that they're working in as their own personal baby. That's what you want to do. And that's how you rise up in any company. To rise up in companies, you really want to be liked. Not too liked, because then people start to take advantage of you. But you want to be liked by the right people. And a lot of times, people think that in order to be liked by the right people, it's only individuals above you that you need to get praise from. Absolutely not. If you're, let's say, a vice president, you better win the favorability of the analysts and the associates, because these people will often vouch for you. A lot of these upper managers, when they're thinking about promoting you, they'll ask the analysts, hey, what do you think of Armani? Do you think he's a good guy? Does he treat you well? How? Give me some examples. And if they're using this as an opportunity to badmouth you, that's not a good look. The upper management, they're going to think, what if we give him a powerful position? How's he going to treat his team? His team is eventually going to quit on him, and he doesn't know how to manage people. That's why one of the most powerful things that you can do is not only win the favorability of those above you, but especially win those favorability of those underneath you, your juniors. Because when you do that, they will talk you up and you will feel just like a good person. You ever heard the quote, the winner, they treat the CEO and the janitor the same way? I'm not trying to call your juniors janitors, by the way, but just don't see status and rankings too much. Just treat a lot of people the same way, especially in the corporate life. And here's the thing. Winning over analysts and associates, if you're a VP, it's such an easy thing because from their lens, they view you with a sense of mystique. They think, whoa, he's up there. And they eventually want to get to your level. They eventually want to become a VP. And if you're just going up to them and you're making yourself seem relatable, now they're going to see that you are not any different from them in a good way, of course. They're going to say, this person is so relatable. He's such a humble guy. They're going to try to help you out. That's why you definitely want to win over your juniors, and it's easy to do. You literally just got to strike up some conversations with them. You want to ask them some questions, and they will give you crucial information that will help you do a better job. If you understand what they're doing on a low level, then it's easier to express yourself on a high level. I recently made a video where I said, what is the best career path? And the response that I gave was IT. The reason I believe IT is the best career field out there is because you get the best of all worlds. You can get technology experience, you get people skills experience, you learn about processes. IT is a subsection within information systems. So if you really want to make this a career, focus on information systems. I believe having my background in information systems has helped me out tremendously with Armani Talks. Because in the future, it's not really about learning how to code anymore. It's not about these low-level details that matters anymore. What really matters is you know how technologies help businesses, and businesses are what? It's just a collection of people. So you need to understand technology, you need to understand people, and you need to explain yourself in a way where you can teach technology to people. That is information systems in a nutshell. In one of my jobs, one way that I would help people understand technology was through procedures. If you want to make yourself known in a company, I will give you an advice. Create procedures because it does a couple of things. One, it helps you better understand what different people do. Two, it makes you visible because you're doing a project. And three, you will help out people tremendously. In one of my last jobs, there was this one guy that took the matter into his own hands to create procedures, but his procedures sucked. He kept assuming that the people reading the procedures were smart, which is something you should not do. You should assume that the people that are reading your procedures are dumb, super dumb. And the dumber that you assume they are, the crystal clear that your procedures will become. You will express yourself in a way that you never thought possible. And that is when you are breaking down each process. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And when it's that clear, it helps out the new employees. So what happened with this guy was that he kept assuming that people were smart. His procedures were rather vague. Eventually, I ended up working with this guy. We started to collaborate. He gave me a couple of projects and was like, hey, Armani, can you make a procedure for this operation, this operation, this operation? I did that. I worked with, let's say, James that works in Operation A. I sat with him. I asked him exactly what he did. And within that week, I broke down exactly what he did into a beautiful procedure. I included pictures. I included definitions. I included the workflow, everything. It was so easy that you, whoever's listening to this, if I showed you the procedure, you would understand exactly how to execute that operation. I did that. And now this person who was initially making all these procedures, let's just call him Patrick, by the way, the guy that made vague procedures. Patrick asks me if I could do more of the procedures. I said, of course. Now I did procedure B, C, D, E, F. I was mastering all these different operations. I was networking with so many different people. My manager was like, Armani, you're a rock star when it comes to creating procedures. What happened was our team was expanding. New people were joining the team, and every now and then they would have a question. Hey, Armani, how do I install printers into this computer? I would say, hey, I have a procedure for you. And I would just refer the procedure to them. And that's when they started to learn. The better of procedures that you create, and you don't want them to be all scattered. You want them to follow this template. So you have this template and you're pretty much just auto-populating it. But have the template, because when you standardize the entire process, it makes it easier for you and it makes it easier for the future workers that are going to build procedures for what they do. Just create that template. And that's where communication skills, technology, all of these merge. Because when I was dealing with operations, when I was dealing with these business people, what they did not want was to get a technical lecture. They did not care at all. A lot of the times they would just in a blanket way say, Armani, dumb it down for me. I don't care at all about the technical details. And if you're coming from a technical background, you need to understand this. This is why I believe information technology is the future, because people who know information technology, they don't necessarily care that much about the details. You may care at the lower level that you are. If you're starting off your career in help desk, you will care about the details a lot. But the higher up that you go, the more you care about the basics. Does it work? Is the application helping the business? Is the application working for the end user? That's all you care about. And you focus on these big rocks and the pebbles will take care of themselves. That's why you need to understand your craft well. People hate on college a lot nowadays. And I fell in that trap too. I was hating on college a lot. But I believe that you need to really understand your argument. College in itself is not bad. Even if you did an arts degree, even if you did a philosophy degree, it's not bad if you find a way to eventually loop it to your career. When I was doing electrical engineering in undergrad, I thought, man, this is cool and all, but I don't want to be an electrical engineer for the rest of my life. I used that degree to get a job in an aerospace company. And that aerospace company, I parlayed that into working in a banking company. And that's when I realized the bank didn't necessarily need more electrical engineers. They needed more IT. So when I look at my past work history and my past education history, I see that the College of Engineering degree parlayed me into an IT career. And that IT career eventually parlayed me into starting ArmaniTalks. That's when I realized that a lot of engineers, they just did not know how to talk to people. And this was a big issue. It's not one of those things where I'm saying, oh, it's just nice if engineers had social skills. I was saying that it was affecting the bottom line of the business. I saw situations where we would open a bridge and people were speaking two different languages. Operations was asking for one thing and the engineers were saying something else. And I recall at that stage of my career, since I was such a newbie, I just had that idea of what each person wanted. And that's what I believe allowed me to excel in my career. I'm not trying to brag, by the way. I'm just saying what it is. I believe what allowed me to excel was I just saw a bridge. That's it. I saw the bridge between technology and operations. These guys had this wall up, and my job was to just create that bridge. And once I created that bridge, I was able to see that engineers needed to learn communication skills. Because I believe engineers learning communication skills is easier than business people and operations learning engineering. It really is. Because with engineers, you need to focus on some of the basics. You want to focus on the big rocks versus the pebbles. You want to Simplify your message and just keep practicing. The more that you communicate, the easier it becomes over time. You want to be funny if possible, not needed, but wins you some points. And the more that you practice, the easier that it will get. So all this stuff happened for my College of Engineering degree, and I found ways for my engineering past to connect to my present. That's what you want to do. If you ended up getting a degree, rather than whining about it, rather than listening to a bunch of random people on Twitter telling you how you wasted 4 to 6 years of your life, see how you can relate that with your present day reality. Do you know how many people in college were 40, 50 years old? They were successful, but what they would do was they would come back to school because they had all these different interests and they wanted a standardized curriculum that they can attend in order to learn about these interests. You could consider yourself cheat coded. Yes, a philosophy degree seems useless to you right now, but there are CEOs in their 50s, 60s going back to school to get a philosophy degree. You already have it. With that philosophy degree, how about you question your own philosophy? Why do you think the way that you do? Especially for content creation, most of content creation is about articulating your philosophy out loud. That's all I do for the ArmaniTalks brand. I'm not one of these guys that's trying to create the latest viral content. All I try to do is I have a certain idea of what I want ArmaniTalks to be. I want ArmaniTalks to be a media company that helps engineers and entrepreneurs improve their communication skills. That seems like enough. But no, if you want to evaluate your philosophy, you need to keep asking questions like why. When I say, I want ArmaniTalks to be a media company, pause. What do you mean by media company? That's what I'm starting to think. I'm like, no, not just media company, multimedia company. And the reason I say multimedia company is because I'm platform agnostic. I don't care how my ideas get out there. I just want it to get out there through multiple media channels like YouTube, like podcast, like Twitter, like newsletter, like blog. That's the multimedia aspect to it. Now the next part creates short stories. The ArmaniTalks company is a multimedia company that creates entertaining and educational short stories. Pause. Why? Why entertaining and educational? It's because education alone does not work. If you're trying to teach communication skills and you're giving raw, dry facts, people will not improve their communication skills. They will tune you out. That's why you got to be somewhat entertaining. You need to change your tonality. You got to tell some jokes. You got to use your body a little bit more. But you don't want to be too entertaining because you come off as a clown. That's why we're mixing entertainment with education. Why short stories though? Short stories because of a twofold reason. Number one, it trains my mind to get to the essence of an idea. And number two is because the world is so busy and people don't have the time to focus on really long content. That's why short stories are important. That's when I could even create long talks for whoever wants to listen, whoever has the concentration skills, but then I can also chop it up into clips, short stories. Why engineers and entrepreneurs? Why do you want your content to specifically impact these two groups of people? The reason why is because I am an engineer and I am an entrepreneur. I create all the content that will benefit me first, and I am the target market. If I know for a fact that it benefits me, then I know it benefits at least one person, me, in the planet. And if it could benefit one person, who is to say it cannot benefit 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million over time? Engineers and entrepreneurs. You see how I'm doing it? I had this simple sentence. ArmaniTalks is a media company that helps engineers and entrepreneurs improve their communication skills. Then I'm getting more detailed. ArmaniTalks is a multimedia company that creates entertaining and educational short stories to help engineers and entrepreneurs improve their communication skills. Just keep getting more detailed. That's how you're enhancing your philosophy. And the more that you enhance your philosophy, someone is not spoon feeding you the philosophy. You are arriving to these conclusions after a lot of logical thought. And a big part of logical thought is to turn blurry concepts into clear concepts. And you turn it into clear concepts by using words to turn blurriness into clarity. That's literally what I just did. You keep doing that, you sharpen your intellect. And the more that you sharpen your intellect, the stronger that your body feels. Now your body feels as though it has direction. If I tell you to just walk that way, you're going to say, for how long? Why am I walking? Why should I listen to you? You're going to be asking all these different questions. But if I say, walk that way for 15 minutes because there is a free hot dog stand where they're giving away your favorite hot dogs. Literally, just walk straight on this path, 15 minutes. Now you have that clarity. Your body feels strong sensations and you want to do the task. That's all leaders do, by the way. Leaders influence as a byproduct of understanding their philosophy. A big part of leadership is to constantly evaluate the philosophy from different angles. You keep doing that, the more that you want to do whatever you have to do. I get excited recording these episodes because I understand how it plugs into the entire ArmaniTalks infrastructure. These long talks, they get chopped into shorts. These shorts get uploaded into Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all these different platforms. These different platforms bring me a new audience. They may watch these long talks, an entire hour long. Eventually, I promote my products. Maybe they're actually seeing my products in my back right now. It keeps making a dent in their subconscious mind. They're like, you know what? Let me just buy it. I don't know what Idea Machine the book is about by ArmaniTalks, but let me just check it out. They eventually check it out. They try out the creative writing prompts for themselves, and they've entered my universe. When you understand your philosophy and you keep clarifying it in depth, that's when you want to do the task. When people are procrastinating, chances are they have no idea why they're doing what they're doing. They feel a lot of tension. And if you feel a lot of tension, this is the perfect opportunity for you to pause and just keep asking yourself, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? For example, if you're procrastinating on, let's say, creating your brother's best man speech, you want to ask yourself, well, what do you mean by that? Then you respond, well, what I mean is I'm not creating the speech for whatever reason. What do you mean? What I mean is there is this strong sensation in my body. I don't really know why, because I know my brother very well, but I just feel this strong sensation in my body that is preventing me from creating the speech. What do you mean? I mean that, I don't know, man. I actually feel a little weird because once I create this speech, I'm pretty much acknowledging that my relationship with my brother is going to be forever different. I'm not going to be just coming back from work and seeing that he's just chilling there in the living room because we're roommates. Once I create the speech, what's going to happen is that I'm going to acknowledge that he's starting a new chapter in his life. He's not going to be in the living room anymore. He's going to be with his wife. He's no longer just going to be my brother. He's going to be a husband. That's what I mean. What do you mean? And you keep answering that question. You could replace what do you mean for why. I just noticed when you ask why, it just seems a little pompous. When you ask what do you mean, it starts off, it seems intimidating at first, but then it makes you want to answer the questions more. That's why you keep saying, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And you eventually get to that state of clarity. The person who is procrastinating, creating the best man speech for his brother, because a part of him thinks once he finishes that speech, that his relationship with his brother is going to transform forever. This person simply having that insight that that's the reason he's procrastinating will help him out tremendously in creating that speech. So this is not easy by any means. This is a painful process, especially when we are procrastinating. We are procrastinating because we don't have clarity. And the other times we're procrastinating because we really don't want to do the task. I always procrastinate with wedding invitations. Whenever someone's like, yo, Armani, you still haven't RSVP'd yet. There is no unresolved feelings with that. I literally just don't want to do it because I hate weddings. I hate going to weddings. I really do. I think this is a fun time for a new topic because it seems like everyone gets married at the same time. But after getting married recently, I noticed that when people are getting married, you definitely want to have their backs because they have everything going on at the same time. They don't have the time to chase you down for you to RSVP. You want to be that guy that makes it super easy on them, especially if they're your friend. Especially for these large scale events, it's easier than ever for people to get lost in the sauce. I recall I was creating this simple entrance with my groomsmen, and it was difficult planning it out. Because by the time you hit your 30s, different people are living in different locations, so we couldn't all practice together. But when we were practicing, I had to boil it down to, hey, we're doing this move, and you guys are going to spin around me and get on one knee at the end. That's it. 4 steps. I have this quote. I say, create your speech in a way that a 5-year-old can understand. For dancing, I say, structure your choreo in a way that an 85-year-old man can do it. So if you're doing all this extravagant footwork, an 85-year-old man can't do that. You need to make it simple as possible. And I noticed that people, the audience members, they don't really care about perfection for a lot of these wedding dances. They just want effort. Because that effort, and a lot of people, or synchronicity, you don't even need a lot of people. Synchronicity is the word that I'm looking for. You have 4 to 5 people doing the same moves or the rough elements of the same moves, then you're golden. And that's what I was trying to tell some of these people that were great dancers. They're like, no, we gotta do this footwork. We gotta dance like this, no, like that. We need to record ourselves and pass the info with them. They're just talking too much. I said, no, man. We literally need to be able to learn this in 30 minutes. If less, that's even better. But we need to learn this quick. And the way that we're going to learn this quick is by not getting cute with it. And just know that when you go to a Desi wedding and you're dancing, people are completely blind to your footwork. It's sort of like when you're with a girl, or let's say your sister and she got her nails done. You, as a guy, you have no clue that she got her nails done until she says, how do you like my nails? I'll look at the nails and I'll say, oh, nice, I guess. But until she brought it up, I had no clue. And it's the same thing with these Desi weddings and a lot of weddings. People don't care about the nuanced dance moves. What they just care about is effort, that you're trying. And that's why, as I'm getting older, I see the importance of, just kind of trying a little bit. When you suck at dancing, ironically, you should be the one dancing. There was this situation in prom where the best dancer, sure, he was getting a lot of attention, but one of the worst dancers in our high school, I would say he got even more attention than the best dancer because he was so bad that people were having fun watching him dance in the middle of the dance floor, and they could relate with the bad dancer, not the good dancer. When they looked at the good dancer, they were like, I can never do that. But when they looked at the bad dancer, they were like, well, I can do that. It's sort of like LeBron James and Steph Curry. The average person, they don't look at LeBron James and say, well, I can do that. He's 6'8", he's 270 pounds of all muscle, athletic as heck. You can't do that. But with Steph Curry, he's shooting these graceful threes. I can do that. It's the same thing with bad dancers. That's why if you're a bad dancer, you of all people should be getting to the dance floor the first, because you will spark up the entire dance floor. While when you're a really good dancer and you're dancing, other people are just watching you and they're ironically getting more self-conscious. They're like, okay, I really don't want to dance right now because how am I going to top that? So all of you bad dancers out there, take that effort to get in the middle of the dance floor and you will feel grateful. People have short-term memories. They don't really care. And even if they do, who cares? I recall in prom, it was kind of embarrassing, but I was probably one of the worst dancers out there. And people would just say, Armani, you can't break it down at all. And back then, it really got to me. And whenever there was a dance floor, I would never break it down. But by the time that I got married, there was no chance for me to say, okay, guys, I'm sitting this one out. No, I'm the one getting married. So I have to be on the dance floor. And your boy was breaking it down. I really was. If you want to check it out sometimes, it may be on my Instagram, ArmaniTalks _. That's my Instagram handle. Your boy was breaking it down. And when I did break it down, that's when I learned it's really just about having fun. The more fun that you have, the more that energy spills over to the rest of the dance floor. And I had people coming up to me afterwards who said, yo, Armani, I didn't know you could move like that. I said, who? Me? Are you saying I'm a good dancer? They said, yeah, dude, you got rhythm. Okay, I mean, if you call that rhythm, whatever that was, then I'll take it. I will take it. It's because I'm just trying to have fun nowadays. And this is a part of communication skills that I'm probably going to explore more later on. Dancing, where for a while I always thought it was a kind of a feminine thing to do, but having some basic moves does help you with your charisma. If you're in these parties and you're just standing in the corner the entire time, it's not a great look. But if you're the one that's getting the dance floor started, that, in my opinion, is a power move. You could be one of the most awkward guys out there, but if you know how to get the dance floor started, people will love you for it. Heck, people will invite you to parties just for that task alone. They'll say, Sam, he's one of the weirdest guys I know, super creepy, super shy, super introverted, super smelly, whatever. But if Sam knows how to get the dance floor started, I will invite Sam, because that is an important skill set. So if you are someone that dances in your room when no one's watching, you want to slowly experiment with these moves in public, and you will be pleasantly surprised. I would say dancing is a lot like public speaking, where it cripples you for a while. People will actually avoid settings where they may have to speak in public, and people will avoid settings where they may have to dance. Just understand that it's more about fun than technique. If you're having fun, then you will win people over. And the more people that you win over, the more that they will love you for it. So we're about to be wrapping up today's talk. And if you enjoyed this talk, I drop a new episode in the beginning of the month. I've been trying to do it on the first day of every month. But today, I'm recording it on February 6th. It's just because I've been really busy and I got lost. I was like, something is missing this month. Oh, wait a minute, Armani, you forgot to record an ArmaniTalks Show. So that is completely my bad. We all make mistakes, but one thing to do is when you fall off of your consistency train, you don't want that to deter you. I remember during Hurricane Milton last year, there were 2 days that I did not post at all. I broke my streak on YouTube because for a long time, I was posting every single day. I felt pride in that. I said, no one can take that away from me. For X amount of days, I've had a streak, and suddenly, due to a dang hurricane, I broke that streak. All good. Because what I did when the electricity came back on was I restarted that streak. So it doesn't matter how many times I fail with certain moments of consistency, I'm always going to get back on the horse. It's not over until I quit. And that's the mentality you want to have. You want to have that marathon mentality. And when you have that marathon mentality, you forgive yourself when you make a mistake. We're all going to make mistakes when we're trying to be consistent, because consistency, it's against our nature. Discipline is against our nature. I've never seen a disciplined baby in my life. That's why we need to keep working on it. And each time you stray away and you come back to that goal, the more that you build a faith for that goal, and the more that you're going to do that goal in the future. So for the rest of the year, I'm focused on recording on the first day of the month. If I don't, then I'm not going to quit regardless. I'm in it for the long run. That's the same mentality you should have with any grand goal that you have set out for yourself. So if you enjoyed today's talk and you want to get more insights like this into communication skills, one way to do that is to go on ArmaniTalks.com. This website has my YouTube videos, my blogs, my podcasts, all consolidated in one area. And if you like the content within the ArmaniTalks.com website, you definitely want to sign up for my newsletter. Within this newsletter, I'm dropping so many different talks on public speaking, social skills, emotional intelligence. And these are short stories. They don't often go beyond 500 words, 500 to 600 words. So you can get a quick little read at 7 p.m. EST every single day. Go on ArmaniTalks.com/newsletter and sign up today. Thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to review this podcast on the podcast platform that you're listening on. And don't forget to retweet if you're listening from X. Drop that like and spread the word about the Armani Talks brand. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will catch you next time.